The morning I found a backhoe ripping through my grandfather's pecan grove, trees he planted the year I was born. I knew the rigorist HOA had just made the biggest mistake of their lives. 6 a.m. diesel fumes mixing with torn earth. The hydraulic screech of machinery murdering 40-year-old wood. A foreman in a hard hat waving a permit signed by Veronica Ashworth, HOA president, real estate agent, and the kind of woman who calls a $900,000 ranch an eyesore. They were installing a drainage pipeline, 48 in of corrugated steel straight across my land, dumping their golf course runoff into the creek where my cattle drink. My compensation, $8,000 non-negotiable. Veronica thought I was just another old rancher she could steamroll. She had no idea I'd been playing a longer game then. She could imagine. Here's my question for you. What would you do if someone built on your property without asking? And where are you watching this from? Drop your location below. I need to know I'm not alone in this fight. My name is Cole Brennan, 54, third-generation rancher. And if you ask my wife Shauna, too stubborn to quit anything. These 80 acres, my grandfather Yemtd bought them in 1957 with his Korea discharge pay. $9,000 cash for what everyone called worthless scrubland. He spent 30 years turning dirt into legacy, digging wells, planting pecans, stringing fence and heat that would kill a horse. On my 25th birthday, he handed me the deed and said, "Don't let anyone take this from you. I run 40 head of Angus. Keep bees. The land's paid for." Shauna teaches 4th grade. Our daughter Mariah just finished vet school. First Brennan with a doctorate. We're not rich, but we're not desperate. Remember that. Here's what nobody knows. 15 years ago, during the worst drought this county had seen, I bought a failing water utility called Clearwater Solutions. Paid $340,000. Registered it under YMTT Holdings, LLC. Hired a manager to run it. I'm a ghost owner. No public records, no press. Why? Because in Texas, water isn't a commodity. It's power. And Clearwater now services 14 towns, including Rigorist. But let's rewind. 5 years ago, a developer built Rigorist Estates. 350 homes, golf course, spa? The kind of place where retirees play weekend cowboy. Houses sold before foundations were poured. The HOA formed. Instantly. Veronica Ashworth, real estate agent, early investor, professional queen bee, crowned herself president. Veronica wears boots and drives a Range Rover with plates reading sold it. She uses words like optics and calls my ranch rustic, the way you'd say condemned. Within 6 months, she lobbied the county to rezone land around Rigorist. Her target, my 80 acres. She wanted phase 2. Expansion, luxury homes, boutique hotel, winery. 3 offers. First, $600,000. More than fair for land this quaint. I said no. Second, $750,000. She brought blueprints. Think of your legacy, Cole. Your grandfather would want you to be practical. I said no. Third, $500,000. Take it or leave it. Property values are dropping. I said no. That's when the gloves came off. 6 months ago, Rigorist commissioned a drainage study. Their engineer, paid by Veronica, declared my creek the only viable outlet for their storm water runoff. The county granted them a permit under public necessity. They'd install a 48 in pipe across 600 ft of my land. Compensation, $8,000. I called Buck Hollister, county commissioner, old friend. He pulled me aside at the courthouse, voice low. "Cole, Veronica's got the new county attorney rapped. He rubber-stamped this without reading it. Legally, it's garbage, but fighting means lawyers you can't afford. 2-year fight minimum." His office smelled like burnt coffee and regret. His handshake was damp. I did the math. Lawyer retainer, 15 grand. Court costs could hit 50,000. I took the 8,000, signed the easement, but I photographed everything. Permits, survey stakes, emails, GPS coordinates, timestamps, because Grandpa YMTT taught me pick your battles. But when you pick one, end it. At the signing, Veronica handed me the check, lips curling. "I'm sure you'll spend this more wisely than you maintain. That barn, though I suppose people like you are just built differently." She let the pause linger just long enough to make it sting. I folded the check, smiled. "Appreciate your concern, Veronica." That night, I watched their crew work under floodlights, machinery chewing through soil, the beep, beep, beep of reversing trucks, the accurate smell of diesel, mixing with torn mosquite roots. Shauna brought me a beer. It's just drainage. Honey, not worth a heart attack. I nodded, but my jaw was tight because I wasn't angry. I was planning. And Veronica had just given me every reason I needed. A week after the pipeline went live, my cattle stopped drinking from the creek. Not slowly, not gradually. They just refused. 40 head of Angus. Standing 10 feet from water they'd used their entire lives, bellowing like something was wrong. If you've never raised cattle, let me tell you, when they won't drink, you've got maybe 48 hours before you're looking at serious problems. Dehydration, kidney stress, weight loss. I grabbed a sample jar and drove to the county extension office. The water tech ran the tests while I waited. Took 20 minutes. When he came back, his face told me everything. Your pH spiked to 8.4. Should be neutral. Around 7. Silt content is 4 times normal. And you've got traces of diesel, concrete lead, and something that looks like fertilizer runoff. He pushed the printout across the desk. This water's been contaminated recently. You have construction upstream? I had construction. All right. 600 feet of brand new HOA drainage pipe dumping straight into my creek. I called the rigorist office. The secretary, some teenager who sounded like she was filing her nails, said, "Not our problem. Your cattle, your issue." Click. So much for customer service. I half expected her to charge me for the phone call. I drove to the rigorist clubhouse. Marble floors, crystal chandelier that probably cost more than my truck. Air conditioning set, so cold I could see my breath. The lobby smelled like synthetic lemon cleaner and fresh paint, that chemical sweetness that makes your teeth ache. Elevator music looped the same 8-bar riff. I sat on a leather couch that was more art than furniture and waited and waited. Veronica kept me there 40 minutes. I watched 3 residents walk past, giving me looks like I'd tracked manure on their precious carpet. My boots were clean, by the way. I checked. Finally, her assistant appeared. "Miss Ashworth, can see you now." Veronica sat behind a glass desk in an office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the golf course. She didn't stand, didn't offer her hand, just checked her watch like I was already stealing her time. I laid out the water test results, explained the contamination, asked politely for remediation. A settling pond, basic. Filtration, anything. She barely glanced at the paperwork. Our engineer certified. That pipeline is environmentally neutral. If your creek is dirty, maybe your cattle are the problem. Have you considered your herd might be overgrazing, stirring up sediment? I kept my voice level. "Ma'am, I'm asking you to do the right thing. Your runoff is poisoning my water." She smiled, the kind of smile that makes you want to check if your wallet's still in your pocket. "Mr. Brennan, rigorist represents $140 million in property value. Your ranch generous estimate might be worth $800,000. The county agrees our needs outweigh yours." She stood, walked to the window, hands clasped behind her back. "If you don't like it, sue us." She glanced over her shoulder. "Oh wait, you can't afford to." I left without another word. Drove home. Sat at my kitchen table with a bottle of aspirin and every document related to that pipeline. Grandpa Yemtt's voice echoed in my head. "Pick your battles, but when you pick one, end it." I pulled out my phone, texted Darnell, my Clearwater manager. "Pull the rigorist file. I need to read every word of their contract." He replied in 30 seconds. "Trouble," I typed back. "Opportunity." The contract arrived in my email an hour later. 20-year water supply agreement, standard rates, but buried in page 17. Clause 7b, rate adjustment provision. If a customer violates environmental covenants or causes contamination upstream of utility sources, the provider can escalate rates up to 300%. Right below it, Clause 9c, breach remediation. The utility can mandate corrective action at customer expense. Translation: if they're poisoning the waste, I can make them pay to fix it, or cut their water entirely. Here's your first knowledge nugget, folks. When you sign a utility contract, read every clause, especially the boring ones about environmental compliance. Those paragraphs aren't just legal mumbo jumbo. They're leverage. The takeaway: Contracts aren't just rules. They're weapons. You just have to know where to aim. I didn't tell Veronica. Not yet. Instead, I bought 4 trail cameras and installed them along the pipeline route. Camouflaged them in Mo's White brush positioned to cover the access hatches. I wanted proof. For 3 days, I checked that footage obsessively, drinking too much coffee and not enough sleep. On day 4, I hit gold. Rigorous lawn crews and HOA branded trucks, opening pipeline access hatches and dumping grass clippings, pool backwash, and landscape fertilizer. Straight into the pipe. Not stormwater waste. Illegal waste. C. Dumping organic matter and chemicals into a drainage system that feeds a watered. That violates the Clean Water Act, federal law. The kind of violation that brings EPA fines starting at $10,000 per day. I had timestamps, faces, license plates. I downloaded everything, backed it up in 3 places, and started a new folder. Evidence. That night, Shauna found me at the kitchen table. Photos spread like a crime scene investigation. Cold coffee. She asked what I was doing. I said, due diligence. She knows that tone. I'm not stewing. I'm plotting. 2 weeks later, every mailbox in Rigorist received a glossy newsletter. Full color, professional layout. The kind of publication that costs real money to print. Front page. Headline, 48-point font. Local landowners neglect threatens community water quality. By line Veronica Ashworth, HOA president. I found my copy wedged in the screen door. The paper was thick, expensive stock. The smell of fresh ink made my stomach turn. The article was a masterpiece of careful lies. Claimed my rundown ranch was leaching manure into the shared watershed. Cited anonymous complaints about overwhelming odors and rodent infestations. Suggested my cattle operation endangered rigorists. Children. Center page, a photo of my barn, unflattering angle, peeling paint. Highlighted, taken from the public road with a telephoto lens. Caption, unmaintained structures raise questions about owners' commitment to community standards. My hands were shaking by the time I finished reading. Not from fear, from the kind of cold anger that makes you see clearly. My daughter called an hour later, voice breaking. Dad, someone left this on my apartment door. There's a handwritten note that says, your dad is poisoning our kids. Mariah's 26. Just graduated vet school. She's got enough stress without becoming collateral damage in Veronica's war. I told her to ignore it. Told her I'd handle it. But my jaw was clenched so tight I thought I'd crack a molar. Then Shauna came home from school, pale as I'd ever seen her. My principal got an email CC to the entire school board. Someone's questioning whether a teacher, married to a documented polar, should be influencing young minds. She dropped her bag on the counter. Cole, they're coming after my job. The hate mail started the next day. 2 anonymous letters, one calling me white trash poisoning good people's water, the other threatening a class action lawsuit. The paper gave me paper cuts. The envelopes tasted like spite and discount glue. I stopped going to the feed store during peak hours. 2. Many dirty looks. One guy I'd known for 15 years crossed the street to avoid Maine. Small-town rumors spread faster than a summer brush fire. So I hired an independent environmental consultant named Derek, $1,200. Derek was mid-30s, PhD in hydrology, and the kind of guy who wore Birkenstocks to industrial sites and didn't care what anyone thought. He spent 2 days testing my land, the creek above the pipeline, below the pipeline, and Rideist's runoff. Directly. His report came back in 10 days. 30 pages